Hello, and welcome to the CSC16 TA Reflection on WriteUp number 2. So, before we dive into code, I always want to make sure I completely understand the problem statement, and I can reproduce the correct answer in my head, basically without even writing any code first. I mean, if I can't do it in my head, I probably can't figure out a way to do it in code. So, let's give the problem statement a good read. We are to consider all the digits, char 0 to char 9, and input as a single number, aka ignoring intervening non-digit characters. Finally, return that number as an integer. For example, and these examples are honestly great. They make sure that your line of thinking is correct with what the problem should return. Calling solution with 1, 7 as a string must return 17. Simple enough. However, if we call solution with the string 1, space, and space, 7, we must return 17 as well. This is where it gets a little more fancy, where we realize, hey, it notices that this little bit is not a number, and it basically removes that and squishes those two numbers together. Sweet, so that kind of gives us a good hint on how this should work. So with that in mind, let's actually start right now. So first, I'm going to create a variable, int answer, because my method must return an integer. I'm going to initially assign that to 0. And finally, I'm just going to return answer. Now I'm initially setting this to 0 because if string happens to contain no numeric or no digit characters, then the solution should return 0. If there is no characters period, if input is empty, it should also return 0. So no breaking whatsoever right now. Great. So now I want to look at each character more closely. So to do that, I'm going to increment some for loop that will basically let me use this specific character, and it'll just keep going until the end. So to do that, I'm going to write for int I equals 0, I less than input.length, and finally increment I. Now this is basically the for loop that you're going to be writing 1,000 times, or something pretty similar to it, and for good reason. It's very useful. So now we have I starting at 0 and going over to however long our string is. Awesome. So now let's actually isolate each individual char. So I'm going to say char ch. We're going to assign that to be input.charat I. Now this is just going to say, hey, ch is going to be the first character initially, then the second character, third character, until we get to the end. Great. So now we have a variable ch, and no, you actually don't really need to make a variable here. If you wanted to keep your code super minimalist and make no variables for some reason, you could do it. Just replace wherever I use ch with input.charat. It doesn't really matter. It just makes it a little more readable and easier on the eyes so you don't see as much text. Awesome. So now we want to figure out if character is a number or not. This is where it gets a little tricky. It's definitely an if statement because I want to do something only if it's a digit and nothing else. So if some condition. Now this condition, if you happen to remember, we could actually use a method provided by Java called character.isDigit, and we just pass it the char that we want to test for digits. And that would return true or false if ch is a number, so from 0 to 9. Now, I'm a strong independent 116 student, and I don't need no helper method, so I'm just going to do this by myself without this character.isDigit. But note, you could use this if you wanted. So I'm going to leave that right there. So a nice property that we do know of chars is contiguous sequences, such as 0 to 9, are basically incremented from each other. So what does that mean? Basically, you can think about it this way. The value for where char 0 is on the ASCII table is probably like somewhere in the 20s, I think. Let's assume it's 20. Now the char value for 1 is going to be 21. Then the char value for 9, eventually it's going to be 29. So this lets us know that, hey, it's within a range that we could compare. And we can make sure that our char ch is in between that range. So what we're going to do is we're going to check if the char 0, if it's greater than or equal to ch. So we want to make sure it's within that range. And we want to make sure it doesn't go too far higher than our chars. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure ch is less than or equal to char 9. Now this provides the same exact thing as character.isDigit does, except this is basically you write it out yourself and you kind of understand what's going on with chars. So now this code will definitely execute if ch is a number. Let's actually convert it to 1. So we're going to make a value, or make a variable, int number, and we're going to assign that to be ch. Whoa, if we do this, ch will be whatever value character 0 is on the ASCII table, which is some number stillily high, and we don't really care about that. So what we want to do is we want to take ch and we want to subtract that by wherever the starting point of this range, basically the char value of 0. So this actually makes it useful where if ch is 0, for example, wherever the char value of 0 is minus the char value of 0 is going to be 0, 1, etc. So ch is minus 0. Alright, awesome. So we have a variable. It's an integer, so we could actually do fun things with it now. And this is actually relevant to our answer. So we want to append it, basically put it at the end of our answer string. So basically what that's doing is that's saying, alright, anything in answer, I want to move it over to the left by 1. And then finally, you just add whatever number is. So to achieve that, moving everything in answer over by 1, you basically have to multiply that by 10. So if we say answer equals answer times 10, and then finally we add whatever number we have plus number, we're actually going to get that desired moving over effect that we wanted, where everything is getting appended to basically the end of it. So that's honestly pretty much it. It looks pretty good right now. Setting answer to 0 initially. We go over every single char inside of our input string. We isolate that. We make sure ch is a digit, otherwise we don't care about it. We just do nothing with it. If it's a digit, we convert it to a number, and then we finally append that to the end of our answer. And finally, let's return it. So, for the grand finale, let's run our reference test, make sure what we did is correct. So right-click, run as, generate a test. And there you go, it all passed. Awesome, so hopefully this helps you guys.